few emblems. I wanted to go through those. So to start off, I just wanted to get right into it. They are going to give us a few different skills. So just some terms. They have a sync skill, which you get only for equipping them, and then you just automatically have it. And then they have emblem weapons, which when you are engaged with an emblem, you can use some of their weapons. And using their weapons, some of them may only give you one, some of them may give you multiple, but it's an option. You can choose to use a weapon already in your inventory or use theirs. And then you have engaged skills. Engaged skills, you can choose which of the skills you want to use. Alright, so to start off with Marth, because Marth seems to be the first emblem you get. Alir was sleeping with his ring, and when Alir wakes, Alir seems to have some at least vague or distant memories of Marth, so Marth says, because you remembered me, I came. Something like that, you know. So, Marth will be our first one. His sync skill is called Perceptive. We don't know the exact number, it just makes it a little bit harder for enemies to hit you, almost as if you're hiding in a forest or something like that. Marth's weapon is the Rapier. Again, there might be more, but even if you're not a sword class, you can use Marth's Rapier. So it does seem like that's going to be a thing. You can use your emblem's weapon regardless of what your class is. Maybe there will be a bonus if you happen to already be a sword class, but we don't know that. However, we do know that weapons will only work when engaged, and we also know that engaged skills do have a bonus based off of your unit type. So for example, Marth, so far we know 2, that might be all, but we know 2 of his engaged skills. The first is called Divine Speed. Divine Speed lets you do a third attack, but that attack only does half of the initial damage. And that's just flat. Whenever you're engaged to Marth, you can do that, so dealing a total of 250% damage. But if you are engaged as a dragon unit, like Alir, you heal that last 50%. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool ability, and that's a great perk. It's a good reason and incentive to use him on a dragon unit. His other skill is called Lodestar Rush, and that one lets you do 7 attacks, but they only deal 30% damage, totaling in 210%. I don't know if this one can be triggered in addition to a basic attack. So instead of doing 210%, you do 310%, 1 attack and then 1 Lodestar Rush. Or if this is your whole turn, but then maybe it costs less ability points because 210% is less than the 250, but if you're a dragon unit, you get 9 attacks instead of 7. So that's 270%, which that's significantly better than just using a basic attack, even if you're going to do a double strike. So pretty quick, pretty simple. Those are Marth's abilities, but we don't know if maybe bonding with Marth makes it so that his abilities are stronger. Maybe you can raise that 30 to a 35. Or if it makes it cost less AP, or like, we don't know exactly what the point of bonding is, but that is a mechanic that we've seen a few times, so it probably matters. After Marth, it seems like the next emblem we meet is Sigurd, most likely given to Alir by Lumiere when Alir sets out to collect all 12 emblems. And Sigurd has a pretty nice sync skill. It's Canter, which is just a renaming of Canto. Basically, if you have 6 movement, you use 3 to get to the enemy. Whether or not you kill the enemy, you get the rest of the 3 back. If you don't have it, you have to stop wherever you do your action. Canter lets you finish up that move. His weapon, the one that we really see is Rider's Bane, but we might have seen a Brave Lance in there. Rider's Bane gives you effective against cavalry bonuses, so nice thing to have around. Not exactly game-changing in my opinion, but I mean, the Rapier is just effective against armor, so it's nice because you can still choose your original weapon. These are just additional weapons that you have in your inventory for these turns, so good to have, maybe not game-changing. Could be, I mean, who knows how many cavalry units are going to be on some of these maps. Now, the first of Sigurd's engaged skills is called Gallop. And Gallop adds 5 movement to whatever class you are. So, an infantry unit can get all the way across the map at this point. But imagine a flyer. A flying unit with an additional 5 movement is really scary. If you're a cavalry unit, then you get an additional 2 movement on top of that, so plus 7 total. Which, if you're cavalry, you already have more movement, and now you get plus 7 movement. That actually might get you all the way across the map. If you have a cavalry unit who needs to speak to somebody on a map, this is how you do it. And Sigurd's other skill is Override. Override is going to be a pretty interesting one because this is the first time, at least, starting from here, we see a map effect. So for any line of enemies, you use Override and you kind of just charge to the opposite end of that line, dealing damage to the people in between. We see it done on, I believe, 3 people. So I don't know if 3 is the maximum or if it can get even larger than that. But at least 3 people are going to get hurt with this one attack. We don't know the exact math. We don't know if this is 100% damage, 80%, or what. And also, just based off of Fire Emblem Heroes mechanics, I doubt skills like this that are done on the overworld can kill a foe, but they can probably at least get them down to 1 HP, making them easier to clean up later. Or maybe since this is a base game, it will work. Maybe Heroes just doesn't have the system to program in killing multiple people in the overworld, but this game will. So if you do that, you just get EXP for killing all three. We really don't know. But that wraps up Sigurd. Selka, I'm going to have to jump into more detail with at another time because so far I can't find any translations on her skills. But what we do know just from looking at it is she's capable of using Warp, which I'm guessing is an engage skill. But when engaged with a mage ally, she'll probably be able to warp further. Or if it has to be movement and not weapon based, then Flyer would be my guess because warping kind of goes hand in hand. And she has a skill that lets her do 2 attacks to 2 different foes, but at half damage, which is stated to be good for cleaning up. She may not be able to kill as many foes like that, but does clean up. As for what her regular sync skill are, and what her weapons do, I don't quite know. I'm guessing she gets Ragnarok as a really powerful tome, and a sync skill giving an increase in magic attack makes sense, but from the video I wasn't able to see it, so I'm hoping that'll be made more clear in a time coming up, and then we can kind of go more into depth on what Celica does. But since we've seen her early twice now, I mean, she's an early character, so it could just be that, but she was the second emblem revealed and the third emblem whose skills were revealed. I do think she'll be an early game character, or an early game emblem at least, but we'll just have to wait and see. But excellent, thank you very much, and I hope that you learned anything about that, or it made it easier to understand and digest what the emblems do, because this is a brand new mechanic, and it's a really big mechanic that's going to shape this whole game. So it's kind of nice to be prepared, I think, but that's all I got for you today, so thank you, and until next time.